AITA for cutting ties with my parents after they missed my graduation for a barbecue? My name is Morgan. I'm 28 years old, and I'm the first doctor in my entire family. I always believed that the day I finally heard someone say Dr. Morgan Caldwell over a microphone, my parents would be in the front row, crying harder than anyone. I thought a degree, a cap and gown, and 7 years of sacrificing for this dream would finally make me impossible to ignore. I was wrong. My mom didn't forget my graduation. She skipped it. On purpose. She chose my brother's backyard barbecue over seeing me walk across the stage for my doctorate. And my dad? That morning on the phone he told me flatly, "Don't get dramatic. It's just a ceremony." In that moment, something inside of me broke in a way I couldn't put back together. My mother skipped my graduation on purpose. They chose my brother's barbecue over my doctorate. Dad told me, "Don't be dramatic." So I changed my name and never went back. And that decision changed everything. What I did next wasn't a tantrum. It was a cold, calculated, and definitive process. Lawyers, paperwork. A new last name and a chain reaction that turned my parents into the villains of a story they never imagined they would star in. Today they say I destroyed the family, but when they were laughing over hamburgers while I walked the stage alone, they didn't care that they were destroying me. The morning of my graduation I woke up before my alarm, my heart pounding like I was in a race I hadn't trained for. For a few seconds I just lay there in the dim light, staring at the ceiling and letting the silence pretend that everything in my life was normal. Then reality hit me. This was it. 7 years of sleepless nights, vending machine dinners, panic attacks before exams, and questioning every life choice I'd ever made. It was all supposed to pay off today. Today was the day I would finally hear someone say Dr. Morgan Caldwell through a microphone in a big echoing hall. In my head I'd replayed that moment 1,000 times. Every version had the same details. My mother in the front row, mascara running from crying so hard. My dad taking too many photos with his phone, zooming in too close and cutting off the top of my cap. Both of them jumping to their feet before anyone else when my name was called. My brother rolling his eyes and pretending not to care, but then secretly bragging about it later. That fantasy was my fuel. I held on to it every time I was so exhausted I couldn't see straight. I told myself, they'll be there when it counts. They have to be. I got dressed slowly, almost ritualistically. Shower. Iron shirt, the black dress that still felt like a costume. I smoothed invisible wrinkles over and over, as if I could iron out years of being the background noise in my own family. I pinned on my cap, adjusted the tassel, and stood back from the mirror trying to see myself the way I hoped my parents would. The first doctor in the family, the one who made it, the proof that all their sacrifices meant something. I even spent an embarrassing amount of time decorating the top of my cap with pristine white letters. The first doctor in the family. It was supposed to be cute, a little proud, a little funny. Looking at it that morning, it suddenly felt like a question. The first doctor in the family, do they even care? Before I could spiral, my phone buzzed on the nightstand. "Mom!" the screen read, and relief washed over me so fast I almost laughed. Of course she was calling, of course they were already in the car, arguing about parking and complaining about traffic. I answered with a smile in my voice. "Hey, are you guys on your way? If you left early, you should still get good seats. Honey, listen." Her voice, bright and a little too thin, cut through mine like she was about to cancel lunch plans, not a once-in-a-lifetime event. We mixed up the dates. My mind went blank. "What? Today is your brother's barbecue," she rushed on, as if she had to get it all out before I could interrupt. "We already invited everyone. There's so much food. Your father has been marinating the meat since yesterday. It's a really big deal for him. And for your brother's business with the clients coming and all that. We just can't cancel. It would be rude." I blinked at the wall for a second. I wasn't sure I'd heard what I thought I'd heard. "You're not coming," I said slowly, "to my doctoral graduation." There was a pause. Then she let out that sigh I knew too well, the one that said, "You're making this harder than it needs to be." "We'll make it up to you," she said. "We'll have a nice dinner next week. We'll get all dressed up. Take pictures with your diploma. We'll post them. It's the same thing. This way your brother doesn't look bad in front of his clients." I gripped the phone tighter. "It's not the same thing," I said. "This isn't just some casual get-together. I worked for 7 years for this. 7 years of exams, clinics, rotations, and barely seeing you. This is the one day you were supposed to show up for me. I heard a muffled sound, then my dad's voice in the background. Give me the phone. A second later, he was on the line. Morgan, he said in that calm, tired tone he used when he thought I was overreacting. Don't start. We're proud of you. Okay, we really are. But it's just a ceremony. They say your name. Everybody claps. You walk. It's over. You already did the hard part. You know we support you. If you supported me, I said quietly, you'd be in those seats. He made a frustrated sound. You know how much work your brother put into this barbecue. He's built his whole network around events like this. People are expecting us. We can't just blow them off to sit in a crowd and listen to a bunch of names we don't know. We'll celebrate properly next week. Don't be dramatic. There it was, the line I'd heard in one form or another my whole life. Don't be dramatic. It's what they said when they left my school play at intermission. What they said when they forgot to go to the parent-teacher conference. What they said when they missed my scholarship ceremony because my brother needed the car. It was the family bandage they slapped over every wound they didn't want to see. Something inside me went quiet. My gown was hanging on the closet door behind me, waiting. My fantasy of them in the front row dissolved so cleanly it felt like it had never been real. Okay, I heard myself say. My voice sounded flat. Foreign. I understand. Have fun at the barbecue. Morgan, my mom called back. Don't be like that. We will celebrate. You'll see. Send us lots of pictures. Okay. We want to see you on stage. I ended the call before I could say something I couldn't take back. For a minute I just stood there in the silence, the phone pressed to my ear, listening to the dial tone. I thought about not going, about taking off the gown, crawling back into bed, and letting the day slip by like any other Tuesday. But then a worse thought hit me. If I didn't go, they would probably tell everyone I gave up at the last minute, that I was too sensitive, too fragile. So I went. I got in my car, drove to the university, and parked among minivans decorated with "Congrats, grad" written in soap on the windows. Families were pouring out, carrying flowers, balloons, and handmade signs. I walked in alone. Inside the auditorium, the noise was a wall. Cheers, laughter, crying babies. The thrum of the band playing something upbeat and hopeful. A sea of families filled the seats. People were waving at their kids down on the floor. I found my assigned seat in the graduate section and sat down. The chairs on either side of me were marked with little signs where my parents were supposed to be. I left them there. I couldn't bring myself to take them down. When the dean told us to stand and turn to wave at our families, a sea of arms went up. Phones flashed. People shouted names. I turned with everyone else. I stared at the spot where my parents should have been and saw strangers. A father in a baseball cap, a little girl with pigtails clutching a teddy bear, an older couple arguing over their camera. No one who belonged to me. I gave a half-hearted wave, then let my hand drop. No one noticed. The ceremony rolled on. Names, applause. Names, applause. Every time someone walked across the stage and their section of the audience erupted in cheers, I felt a small sting, like a rubber band snapping against the same bruised spot on my heart, over and over. It wasn't jealousy. It was confirmation. This is what normal looks like. This is what I don't have. At some point my phone vibrated in my pocket. During a quiet moment I glanced down. A photo from my brother. A perfectly arranged barbecue spread. Smoke rising from the grill. People laughing. My parents were in the background. My dad holding a pair of tongs, my mom holding a bowl of salad. They looked relaxed, happy. Present. Wish you were here, the caption read, followed by a laughing emoji and a flame. The timestamp on the photo was the exact minute my row had been told to stand and make our way to the stage. When they finally called my name, Dr. Morgan Caldwell, I walked into the bright light and forced a smile so wide my cheeks hurt. I shook the dean's hand. I took the diploma. I posed exactly how they instructed us. Somewhere in the back of the hall, a professional cameraman panned the crowd, searching for my cheering section, ready to capture the proud parents on the big screen. He didn't find one. After the ceremony, graduates spilled out into the courtyard, swallowed up by their families. There were flowers everywhere, confetti, people crying and laughing and hugging. Parents were holding their children like they just survived a war together. I stood off to the side, clutching the tube holding my diploma, pretending to check my phone so I wouldn't look as alone as I felt. A woman in her 50s, another graduate's mother, walked past me, then stopped and turned back. "Do you want a picture, honey?" she asked kindly. "Can I get one of you and your family?" I forced a smile. "It's just me," I said, holding up the diploma slightly. "My family couldn't make it." Her face shifted. Surprise. Then something that looked like a mixture of pity and anger. "Their loss," she said quietly. "Let me get one of you anyway. You deserve a picture." I handed her my phone. I stood in front of the campus fountain in my cap and gown, the sun in my eyes, holding a degree I had earned with everything I had. She took a few photos and handed my phone back. "Congratulations, doctor," she said, and she walked away before I could cry in front of her. Later that night, I posted one of those photos, no filter, no clever caption. Just, the first doctor in the family. My parents couldn't make it. They had a barbecue. I watched the likes and comments roll in. Friends from school, classmates, a couple of professors. But the only names I looked for never appeared. "No, we're so proud of you." "No, we're sorry we couldn't be there." "No, we made a mistake." Nothing. Just silence from them and grill smoke on my brother's story. After the ceremony, my classmates went off to celebratory dinners and parties, wrapped in the arms of their proud parents. I went back to my apartment in silence. I dropped my keys on the table and stared at the cap and gown draped over a chair like some kind of practical joke. My phone buzzed with a few congrats, texts and heart emojis. Nothing from my parents until my brother's notification popped up. A backyard full of people, a smoking grill, his friends with red Solo cups, my parents in the background laughing. "Wish you were here," the caption read, with a laughing emoji and a flame. I sat on the floor, my back against the couch, and zoomed in on them. They looked happy, relaxed, fully present. Just not for me. The truth settled in my gut. They hadn't mixed up the dates. They had chosen the barbecue over my doctorate. On purpose. I opened the family group chat with trembling fingers and typed, "I became Dr. Morgan Caldwell today. You chose a barbecue over being there. I won't forget this." The typing bubbles appeared, disappeared, then came back. Finally, my mom replied, "We said we'd celebrate next week. Your father worked hard on that barbecue. Your brother invited people. Why are you making this about drama? Not we're sorry. Not we messed up. Just excuses and that same old word. Drama." The tears came then, fast and ugly. I slid down until I was nearly lying on the floor, sobbing into my hands, remembering the empty seats beside me and the sound of my name, drowned out by applause meant for others. When the crying finally stopped, what was left wasn't soft. It was a hard, cold knot and a single clear thought. If they could skip this, they would skip anything. I realized I had been treating their love like an exam I could finally pass with the right grades, the right career, the right attitude. But there was nothing wrong with my answers. The test itself was rigged. I dried my face, opened my laptop, and typed into the search bar, "State legal name change process." It started as a what if. The steps were simple. File a petition, pay a fee, appear in court, publish a small notice. People did it all the time for marriage partners or to mark a new chapter. I wanted to do it to bury the version of myself who was still waiting for her parents to show up. If I was going to kill off Caldwell, I needed a name that meant something. I pulled an old shoebox from my closet. Inside were letters from my grandmother, my father's mother, Eleanor Callahan. She was the one who came to my school plays when my parents were too busy, who sent me $5 bills with notes that said, "I'm proud of you. Keep going." In one letter she wrote, "Some families give love like breathing. Others make you earn every breath. Don't stay where you're always short of breath, Morgan." After she died, there was no one left to encourage my parents to be better. The missed moments piled up. And "don't be dramatic" became the family motto whenever I got hurt. I traced her signature, Eleanor Callahan, and said the last name out loud. Callahan. It didn't taste like abandonment. It tasted like the only person who had ever chosen me first. On the petition form I wrote, first name Morgan, last name Callahan. My hand shook for a few lines, then steadied. It felt less like paperwork and more like signing my own adoption papers. I wasn't leaving them. I was choosing which legacy I wanted to carry forward. The next morning, I filed the documents at the courthouse. The clerk stamped them without a second glance. To her it was routine. To me it was the moment Caldwell went on life support. On the way home, I sent certified letters to my parents. As of this date, my legal name will be Dr. Morgan Callahan. Please update your records accordingly. No explanation, no apologies. That night my brother called. "What the hell are you doing?" he demanded. "Mom is freaking out. Dad says you're trying to humiliate us. You're changing your name over a barbecue." I looked at the picture from his party still open on my screen. "I'm not doing this over a barbecue," I said. "I'm doing this over a lifetime. The barbecue was just the proof." He scoffed. "Are you insane, Morgan?" I replied without hesitation. "It's Callahan. And I'm not insane. I'm being reborn without you." I hung up before he could answer, my hand shaking with adrenaline instead of fear. Then I did one more thing. A friend from college was still connected to my parents' family social media account, the one they use for every picture-perfect holiday post. With her help, I got temporary access. I opened the album from that day. Brothers Barbecue. Picture after picture of smiling faces and piled high plates. I added one more photo, my graduation picture in my cap and gown, standing alone in front of the campus fountain with no family beside me. And I changed the album's title to 2 words, Priorities Documented. Then I logged out and deleted the login. It wasn't subtle or polite. But for once, the truth sat right alongside their version of events, where everyone could see it. That night, staring at my own reflection in the dark window, I asked myself if they wouldn't come to this, what would they ever come to? The silence answered for me. From that day on, whenever someone called me too dramatic, I understood it as a sign that my truth was making them uncomfortable, not as a command to be quiet. Question for you. If you had the chance to legally and publicly write yourself out of the story your family wrote for you, would you take it and be reborn on your own terms? Or would you stay, gasping for air in a place that never truly saw you? The legal process took months, but in my head, Caldwell died the night I filed those forms. While the paperwork slowly moved through the system, I started living as if Morgan Callahan already existed. I applied for jobs in other cities, some in my field, some for anything that would pay the rent. Most places sent polite rejections. One mental health clinic in a mid-sized city, a few hours from my hometown, offered me a position as a junior psychologist. The director warned me, "The starting salary is low, the caseload is high, and a lot of our patients come from messy family situations. It's not glamorous." I almost laughed. Messy families. Perfect. I signed the contract. Packing my apartment felt like performing an autopsy on my life. College textbooks, sticky notes from exam prep. Photos. The photos hurt the most. Christmas mornings with my brother front and center and me half cut off at the edge of the frame. Birthdays where the cake was angled toward him, my face blurred by a quick turn. I realized that even in my own life I was an afterthought. I put most of those photos in a box, taped it shut, and wrote one word on the lid. Before. I left it in the back of the closet like a body in a shallow grave. When I wrote to my parents telling them I'd accepted a job out of state, I kept it brief. "I'll be busy getting settled. I need space to focus on my career." My mom replied with a thumbs up emoji and a "we'll visit when things calm down." My dad never replied at all. In the new city, no one knew who I used to be. On my first day at the clinic, I introduced myself to the receptionist as Dr. Morgan Callahan. Even though the court hadn't stamped it final yet, the name felt awkward for half a second, but then it settled. It felt like I was finally wearing clothes that fit. That's where I met Danielle. She was the senior therapist assigned to supervise me, a woman in her late 30s with tired eyes, a sharp tongue, and a way of listening that made silence feel less terrifying. We worked long hours together, collaborating on crisis sessions and tackling endless paperwork. One night, after a brutal day with a client whose mother had weaponized major life events, Danielle put down her pen and said, "It's always the same story. The parents swear they did their best. Then you see the kids sitting there picking up the pieces. No one ever admits they're the ones who dropped them." Something inside me uncoiled. "Yeah," I said. "Some of us could write a book on that." She studied me for a moment. "You sound like you're speaking from experience, not theory." So I told her. Not all at once, not every detail, but enough. The favoritism, the way my achievements were treated like background noise, the barbecue, the empty seats at my doctoral ceremony. I showed her the lone graduation photo, then a side-by-side screenshot of my brother's barbecue, taken at the exact same time. My God, she murmured. They really did choose a grill over a doctorate. Her next question changed everything. Then she asked, "So what are you going to do with it?" I blinked. "What do you mean?" "There's a difference between a sad story and a revenge story," Danielle said. In a sad story, the protagonist asks, "Why did they do this to me?" In a revenge story, she asks, "What am I going to do with what they did to me?" That line stuck itself in my chest. That night, I went home and started a blank blog under the pseudonym Dr. M. I started writing about family abandonment, golden children and invisible siblings, parents who call you dramatic when you point out the wound they inflicted. I didn't use names or locations, but the stories were real. One post in particular poured out of me. "When your parents skip your graduation for a barbecue." I described the empty chairs, the phone call, the party photo. I ended it with, "Some will say you're overreacting. Ask yourself why it bothers them more that you're telling the story than that the story is true." First, the blog was small. A few readers found it through late-night searches for toxic families. Then one post got shared and then another. Slowly, comments began to appear. "This happened to me. I thought I was crazy. Thank you for saying this out loud." My pain was no longer a secret. It was a signal. Question for you. If your trauma could help strangers heal, but might one day ruin your family's public image, would you still hit publish? For nearly 3 years, I heard almost nothing from my parents, save for stiff group holiday emails and the occasional forwarded meme. I didn't go home. I didn't send gifts. When calls came from familiar numbers, I let them ring. My new life as Dr. Morgan Callahan filled up with work, clients, therapy sessions, and quiet, chosen friendships. The blog kept growing. An article on the ghost child and the golden child was picked up by a mid-sized digital magazine that covered mental health and family dynamics. They asked if they could republish it. I agreed as long as they didn't use my full name, just Dr. M, psychologist, name changed for safety. I forgot about it after sending. A week later, my phone started vibrating during my lunch break at the clinic. An unknown number. I ignored it. It rang again and again. Finally, a text message. "Morgan, please. Mom. This is important." I stared at the screen, feeling that familiar mix of dread and stupid hope. I let it go to voicemail. That night, sitting on my couch in the dark, I pressed play. Her voice sounded strange, strained, filled with panic. "Morgan, if this is still your number, I think that article was about us. People are talking. Your father is furious. Your brother is losing clients and sponsors. They don't want to work with someone from a family who would do that to their daughter. Is this what you wanted, to punish us?" She made it sound like I was the one attacking them, not that reality was finally catching up. The second voicemail was sharper. "This is our private business. I can't believe you would paint us as abusers on the internet. It was a misunderstanding, and now you're making us look like monsters." A misunderstanding. That's what she called a lifetime of being second choice and one unforgivable decision. I played the messages for Danielle the next day. She listened, arms crossed, her jaw tight. "There it is," she said. "They didn't call because they realized they hurt you. They called because they're finally feeling a fraction of your pain, and they don't like it." After work, I checked my email. A message from a journalist who specialized in family estrangement and restorative justice. They'd read my article and wanted to do a longer anonymous interview. "Your story will help so many people who are told they're overreacting to neglect," they wrote. "We believe it's important for voices like yours to be heard." I just sat there, staring at the words as my phone buzzed again with another call from my mother. For the first time, I felt a shift in power. As a child, they owned the narrative. They told relatives I was temperamental, too sensitive, always making a big deal out of nothing. Now, strangers were reading my version. Instead of calling me dramatic, they were calling it familiar. Days later, my mom finally sent a text that dissolved any remaining illusion. "Please call me. We're desperate. Not we miss you. Not we're sorry. Just, we're desperate." Desperate because my truth was costing them money, reputation, and the polished image they'd built of being a good family. That night, sitting on my couch with my phone in one hand and the journalist's email open on my laptop, I pictured 16-year-old me, crying in her room after her parents left her school awards ceremony early for her brother's event. If I answer this call to comfort my parents now, who am I betraying more? I whispered into the empty room. Them or her? That girl. If I answer, am I rescuing them, or am I abandoning you all over again? Question for you. When someone only reaches out because your truth is finally costing them something real, do they deserve another chance? Or just the consequences? In the end, I did call them back. But not to apologize. If we're going to talk, I told my mother, it has to be in public. A neutral place. No shouting, no pretending this was a misunderstanding. You either tell the truth or there's nothing to say. She agreed instantly, which was almost suspicious. We chose a coffee shop halfway between my city and theirs. A busy place with big windows and nowhere to hide. Walking in, I saw them immediately. My mom looked smaller than I remembered, the lines on her face deeper. My dad looked exactly the same, only older, his jaw set, arms crossed, anger simmering under a layer of calm. My mom stood as if to hug me. I stopped just out of reach. Hello, I said. I'm Dr. Callahan now. My dad's eyes flickered. He didn't like that. We sat. There was an awkward dance of menus and coffee orders, like we were strangers on a bad first date. As soon as the waiter left, my mother leaned forward. We're being attacked, she began. Ever since that article, people have been judging us. Your brother's sponsors are pulling out. Clients are avoiding him. Your father's position at the club is in question. This is hurting our entire family. I took out my phone, opened the screenshot of the family chat from my graduation, and slid it across the table. My message: I became Dr. Morgan Caldwell today. You chose hamburgers over being there. I won't forget this. Her reply: we said we'd celebrate next week. Why are you making this about drama? And under it, the recording of my father's voice. Don't be dramatic. It's just a ceremony. You mean this? I asked. This is what I described. You're upset that people are finally seeing it. My dad's mouth tightened. We made a mistake. People make mistakes. That doesn't give you the right to slander us online and destroy our lives. Interesting choice of words, I said. Because when you skipped my doctoral graduation, it wasn't just a mistake. It was a choice. You didn't forget. You prioritized convenience. I just wrote down what happened. My mom's eyes filled with tears. You're twisting things. We've always supported you. We paid for your books. Your rent. We were proud of you. You were proud in theory, I cut in. But when it came time to actually show up, you didn't. Not in high school, not in college, not when it mattered most. Did you forget you left my high school graduation early for his practice game? Or skipped my scholarship reception because he needed the car? They fell silent. A couple at the next table glanced over. I didn't lower my voice. Let them hear. For once I wanted witnesses. We did our best, my mom whispered. I laughed once softly. You did your best with him. With me, you did the bare minimum and called it parenting. And when I finally pointed out the pattern, you called me dramatic. My dad leaned forward, his voice low but firm. We're not the villains in your little revenge story. Families have issues, but they don't air their dirty laundry in public. That's betrayal. You want to talk about betrayal? I asked. You betrayed me. You always made it clear that I was optional. All I did was stop keeping your secret. That's not betrayal. That's disclosure. I pulled a printed copy of the article from my bag and fanned the pages. Do you know how many people wrote to me because of this? I asked. People who went through the same thing. People who thought they were crazy because their families told them their pain was no big deal. You're not angry that I lied. You're angry that I told the truth where other people could hear it. My mother's tears finally spilled over. What do you want? You want us to humiliate ourselves? You want us to admit we're terrible parents? I met her gaze. I wanted you to show up. When you didn't, I wanted you to own it. Not gaslight it. Not excuse it. Own it. The silence that followed was thicker than any shouting match we'd ever had. My dad broke it. You've made your point, he said coldly. You've punished us. Now what? You come home. We get past this. You are our daughter. Question for you. If the people who broke you only admit their pain when their own well-being is threatened, do they still deserve to be called your family? There was a time when hearing you are our daughter would have shattered me. It would have sent me crawling back just to be wanted a little. Sitting in that coffee shop, I just felt tired. Not angry. Not hysterical. Just done. No, I said finally. I'm not coming home. My mother flinched as if I'd slapped her. You can't mean that, she whispered. We're still your parents. Biologically, yes, I replied. Emotionally, you checked out a long time ago. I'm just finally accepting it. My father scoffed. You changed a name on a piece of paper and now you think that erases blood. I reached into my bag and pulled out an envelope. Inside were copies of my legal documents. The court order, my updated license, my professional registration. I slid them across the table. This doesn't erase blood, I said. It erases entitlement. This is the name on my degrees, on my clinic door, on my writing. Morgan Callahan. That's who I am now. You don't get to use my old name to drag me back into a role that almost broke me. My mother's hands trembled as she unfolded the papers. Tears blurred the ink. So that's it? She asked. You're just erasing us from your life. I shook my head. No. I'm refusing to let you keep erasing me from mine. I invited you to my achievements time and time again. You chose something else. I believed you. I finally tailored my life to match what you showed me. My father raised his voice, telling me I was exaggerating, that normal families have worse problems, that I was blowing one event out of proportion. I cut him off. This isn't about one barbecue. This is about a lifetime of learning that I came second. Second to convenience. Second to schedules. Second to your golden son. My doctorate was just the moment I got the proof. The day you confirmed that even at my absolute best, I wasn't worth the drive. My mother leaned across the table, grabbing my wrist. We can fix this, she pleaded. We'll apologize publicly if that's what you want. We'll tell people we were wrong. But don't throw away your family. I gently pulled my hand back. You can't fix rot with a fresh coat of paint. You have to tear out the damaged parts. For me, that means stepping outside the system where I'm only wanted when it costs you nothing. I stood up. The chair scraped softly. From now on, if anyone asks you about me, you tell them the truth. Tell them you had a daughter who became the first doctor in the family, and you chose a barbecue over her graduation. Tell them you called her dramatic. Tell them you only reached out when her story started costing you money and status. My dad glared at me. You will regret this one day. I looked at him and realized the spell was broken. His disapproval no longer felt like a death sentence. Maybe I will, I said. But I already regret every year I spent begging for scraps of love from people who couldn't even be bothered to sit in a chair and clap. I'd rather regret leaving than regret never having left at all. I picked up my bag. My mother's broken voice called out behind me, saying my old last name like a spell that used to work. It didn't. I walked out of the coffee shop into the bright sunlight, and for the first time in my life, the word selfish didn't sting. It felt like self-defense. In the months that followed, the messages came in waves. Anger, guilt, bargaining, nostalgia, and finally silence. I heard through relatives that my brother's reputation took a hit, that my parents complained about being slandered, but never explained what they'd actually done. That was okay. My revenge was never about them admitting guilt. My revenge was simple. I removed myself. I built a life under a name they couldn't claim. My patients know me as the doctor who believes them. My friends know me as the woman who always shows up because she knows what it feels like when people don't. My chosen family knows I will never prioritize a barbecue over their achievements. Sometimes, late at night, I think about that empty seat at my graduation and the filled chairs at my brother's party. And I feel something close to peace because I finally understand. Blood isn't a free pass to hurt someone without consequence. The real drama isn't that I changed my name. It's that I stopped believing family automatically means home. So I leave you with this. When the people who share your blood treat you like you're optional, is staying to keep the peace an act of loyalty? Or is walking away the first real act of love you ever show yourself? Comment. I wanted to share this story because it holds a powerful truth about self-worth. It's a reminder that you are allowed to be the main character in your own life, not just a supporting role in someone else's. Setting a boundary is one of the deepest acts of self-respect you can perform. It's not about punishing others, but about protecting your own peace. True healing starts when you take responsibility for your own happiness, even when someone else was responsible for your pain. You don't always need closure from others to start a new chapter. Remember that the family you choose can be just as real as the one you were born into. Always choose the path that leads to your own well-being. Your peace is worth more than any argument. Let this be a sign to honor your own story. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.